Welcome to the Mind Grow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Cathan, and today's guest is such a pleasure for me to bring her on the show. I'm already really excited about talking to her. She is a retired defense attorney who gave up the drama of the courtroom to find fulfillment in her own life. And not only did she go looking for it, she found it, and now she shares her passion by helping other professional women to be able to find fulfillment in their life and in their career and in their relationships. And she's going to be sharing some tips from her own personal growth toolbox today. So be sure to stay tuned in for those. And please help me give a warm welcome for not only this amazing woman, she's also an inspirational speaker. She's a transformational coach. And I know you're going to love her as much as I do. Please help me welcome Sharon Vidano to the studio.
Yay, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here and just having this conversation with you. I feel like we're sitting here having coffee and we can just really get into the nitty gritty.
Isn't technology great that it allows for us to, even though we're on different parts of the world, sometimes the country. Where are you today geographically?
I'm in Southern California, so I'm about half an hour outside of Disneyland in Southern California.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I'm in Vermont, so we're way, way far away from each other.
Yes.
Yet we're having coffee, we're in each other's spaces, and we get to have mind-growing conversations. And yes. I just love that exists. So Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, as a transformational coach, I know you get to make an impact every day and do life-changing work, which your work as a defense attorney at times was life-changing too, depending on the circumstances. But what was it that inspired you to take that leap to go from the drama of the courtroom into the fulfillment of the walls of your life?
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking that. One of the biggest catalysts that started was actually, it was in my own personal life, actually. So I was going through a divorce. So then I was divorced. And then it was a couple years after that, I decided that I really wanted the love of my life. I did not want to be by myself the rest of my life. I wanted to be loved in a way that I knew that at that point, knew that I should be loved. I always envied those relationships that I saw in the movies and even just in some of my friends that I saw loving marriages. And I wanted that intimacy and affection, and I did not have that before. So 2 years after my divorce, I started my own healing. And then I said, I want to start dating. Well, I started dating, and that was quite an adventure. It wasn't very successful, about a year or so in dating. And I ultimately found a dating coach, which I thought, okay, I'm going to learn strategies. I'm going to learn how to talk to guys and what this means and the differences between men and women and their minds. And the reality is it really wasn't about the guy. It was really about myself. And I grew so much in that process. Long story short, ultimately met my now husband, who's amazing and could not even put it all on a sheet of paper, even if I tried. And God knew exactly what was perfect for me. And those tools were so amazing that I said I would love to continue to live and then teach those tools. And I took those tools and then started to looking at my own life in regards to being in the courtroom. I liked what I was doing. I was darn good at what I was doing. I helped a lot of people, very passionate. But there was still something in my soul saying, you know what, there's something a little more to this. And I kept seeing almost like a snapshot when I saw people coming in the courtroom. I would help them, but it's like a Band-Aid. Many of them, I hope, would have lasting impression of whatever help or guidance I gave them, but many of them were coming back. So I started to think, you know what, I need to catch these people before the courtroom. And hopefully they'll never get in the courtroom because they're going to be aligned with their own value and their own soul's purpose at that point. So that was a catalyst.
I love that. Eh, What I really love about it is like such a pivot. It's a huge pivot from going from a career in the legal world, to going into, because that's a lot of fighting, right? It's a lot of arguing.
Yes, that's all we did. We're programmed to fight. We're programmed to fight. We're programmed to prepare for a fight. We're programmed when we're in the fight, and we're programmed to avoid the fight. So all you're doing is you're in fight mode the whole time, which can be really exhausting sometimes, all the time.
So what would you say was like the biggest support that when you decided to make the shift and you made this decision? I imagine, as happens to a lot of us, there were people in your life that said, "What? Are you crazy to do that? Are you crazy? How can you give up this amazing career and go jump off the deep end without even knowing?" Like, how did you handle that? And what was the biggest support that you found along the way, or piece of advice, or whatever?
Well, I think it's really a culmination of one, it's my husband. Huge, huge. He is just 1000% my biggest fan, supporter. Whatever you want to do, I want you to be happy. I want you to do these are my words, lights up your soul. And at the time, and still am, I have coaches because we're always growing. What my coach says, you can never see the picture when you're in the frame. So when I'm in the midst of my own inner monologue about should I take this leap and retire now? Should I wait? What are you doing? You're getting rid of a steady paycheck. Yeah, all that internal monologue. I had the coaches, and I'm in a structured support where they can continuously have the repetition in me about these universal laws, which we are leaning into, and the universal laws is we are really in an abundant universe. We can say universe, you can say God, you can say spirit. I say spirit. Spirit wants the best for us, wants us to live, wants us to grow. And when we start to listen to that small, still small voice within us, I say that's a divine whisper. Mm-hmm. And when that divine whisper comes, my discipline in continuing to grow in the study is to listen to those divine whispers and move confidently in that action. I did not do that in my 20s, in my 30s, in my 40s. Those divine whispers I suppressed, and I think it's Gay Hendricks that said, and I'm going to mess up the quote, Gay Hendricks said something to the effect of striving to be moved by the touch of a feather. That was not me in my 20s, 30s, 40s. I actually had to get hit by a ton of bricks many times in my journey because I can't do that. What if this, what if that? And I'll go back to, in my early 20s, I was young. I was, had a very sheltered bringing up by my parents. And I was that awkward girl in high school. I was the awkward girl in college, so, and when the first boy gave me some attention, I remember thinking, what if no other boy talks to me?
Yes.
And I know we can come back and unpack that, but the long story is ultimately that was a rocky relationship from day one, rocky marriage for 20 years. And I have healed and grown, and I found the gift in that relationship. He was a good provider. I have my two amazing sons because of him. If it weren't for all of that, I wouldn't be who I am today. I had to learn all that. Not a bad person, just really not for me.
Right.
And, and yes, but I remember thinking that, what if no other boy talks to me? I'm going to make this one work. And I said that through the marriage. Now I got 2 kids. I'm going to make this work because it's a no-brainer. I have to make it work for my kids, and then ultimately it got to the point where I remember one time towards the end of our marriage, I remember thinking in my head saying, I think I'm okay if I'm in a marriage where we're just friends.
Mm.
And then I heard myself think that, and I said, oh, no, I don't think so. I want more. I want more. And then that's when it was a slow move to ask for the divorce. And there's a bigger story in that, but yeah, that's the gist of it. And I'm so
it's
glad I did.
amazing, right?
Yeah.
When you make that decision
Yes.
for you make that decision that you do want more, and you're willing to step out of whatever this is to get it.
Yes. And then
To
the realization is I do want more and I deserve more. But even then, that wasn't even like a huge standing in that knowing of my worth and this is what I would love. Even then, it was just a tiny, tiny seed of I deserve more than that. And it was a very small voice. And I listened to that small voice. Now that voice now is much bigger. I've grown so much and I stand on that 1000%, but I had to grow into that voice, that little seed and I leaned into it. And that's when I made the decision.
So what would you say to a woman right now who might be hearing that little voice, maybe for the first time? Maybe she doesn't even recognize it as a divine whisperer. It's just a stirring, just that thing that change has to come, but you don't know what to do about it. Or what is a one piece of advice that you would give to that woman?
I would say what I always stand on, that we are all spiritual beings having this human experience. So it doesn't matter in that human side of you. It doesn't matter what you did or what you went through or what you think you are at fault at, because you are not. That doesn't define you. There is this spiritual side of you that is very divine. Oh, I'm going to cry. Oh, this is, there is a spiritual side of you that is very divine and beautiful and deserves that love. So, and you are worth it. You are 1000% worth just that little seed or that thought or that whisper that you can think of. Because if you can think of that life, it's a possibility. That thought was put in your mind by spirit, by God. And if that was not put in there, then in your mind, you'll say, oh, I wasn't worth it. But no, because you can think of it, you are absolutely worth it. And if you can lean into that and breathe into that, lean into that, standing in the knowing that you are worth it, then figure out what your next move is. It could do what you can with where you are with what you have. And spirit will guide you one step at a time. You don't need to know the whole picture. I didn't know the whole picture back then. All I knew was just one decision. And I remember I decided I wanted more. And I said, okay, I decided I'm going to wait till my youngest son is X age, when he's older and out of school and more independent. Well, guess what? And that would have been 2 more years. Oh, I'm getting all like, ugh. So I can still remember it. But once I made that decision, I couldn't wait the 2 years. That decision was made. That energy moved and it was already down that other path. So make that decision, even if it's a tiny seed of something that you would love, and lean into it. Decide for it. And each step will be revealed for you. And I know it's scary. Oh boy, is it scary. It is scary. It's uncomfortable. It's going to rock your world. You're going to cry. You're going to throw up. You're going to go in a fetal position.
We're talking like the snotty cry,
yes,
the ugly cry.
Yes. But no, that is that's actually the really good news, because that means you're about to grow. And if you're in your comfort zone, even though you're in your comfort zone, even though you're incredibly unfulfilled, sure, it feels comfortable, even though I'm unhappy. But when you're in that, and in we call it DEF CON, if you're in that DEF CON where you're crying and you're just like in that fetal position, you are just about to grow, because you are now slowly moving out of your comfort zone. But God, spirit, universe, life, love is so amazing. All the resources and people will come into your life to support you and hold your hand and take you just that one next step, and the next step after that, and after that. And that's what I did. And that's when I ultimately met my coach. That's when I ultimately, some friends will fall away. Guess what? Because now those people are no longer on your same page, your same energy, your same vibration, because some people want you to play small.
Because it makes them feel bigger.
It makes them feel bigger. But once you start stepping into who you are supposed to be, people will fall away. But then the people who are going to surround you and help you grow will show up.
And none of that will happen without the decision.
Correct.
And like once you make it, what you talked about of how you had to move forward, like it was moving you. And that's the way it works. Like when you decide, all of a sudden, it's like a ball of momentum just gets rolled under you, and you kind of just have to ride the wave of it, ride the movement of it.
Yes.
And try not to get tumbled over by self-sabotage. And I know that was a problem that I had for a long time. I would make the decision, I'd start moving, and then I'd be like, who are you to do this? That doubt would come in, that feeling of, am I really good enough to do this?
Yes. And then deciding for a divorce when your children are still small. There was guilt. I'm breaking up this family because my kids were happy. This was their happy normal. They didn't know any better that the marriage was not happy. A great model of a healthy marriage. They didn't know. They don't know any better. They were happy. I had to wrestle with that.
Right.
The guilt of I'm going to upset my children.
So what did you do with all that? Like the the waves, because I find for myself that it comes in waves. Guilt waves, shame waves, unworthiness waves. Like they just kind of hit you out of nowhere, like a sucker punch from the beyond. But it's really not from the beyond, right? It's from the within.
It is. Those sucker punches are our old ways of thinking, our subconscious, which has been programmed our whole lives, which is attempting to keep us small. And I actually would notice those thoughts, and I would say, thank you for trying to keep me safe. I get it. And in my study and through what I've learned through my mentors, that we call those paradigms, that those are the paradigms that pop up, that try to keep you safe, try to keep you in your comfort zone. And there has been some science behind it, that when those paradigms, what it is, it's the way our minds are wired. And when our minds are wired, it's like the neurons, they are glued together. That's the old way of thinking. They are glued tight, and they had years and years and years of glue on them. Well, when you start to think more empowering thoughts, like that seed, I'm worth that. So there's like a new neuron that fires. And then there's a little bit of this, I'm going to mess it up. Neuronic glue. I'm sure there's a more scientific name for that, but there is a glue. And my understanding is there is only a finite amount of that around. So when there is not enough glue in that old worn way of thinking, that some of that glue will start to go to that seed of that new thought. So that old way of thinking, it thinks actually that the body is actually dying. So it will fight to stay alive, that thought. So when I notice that, and I'm in this fetal position, crying, snotty crying motion. I'm not worth it. Who are you? All this stuff. I just notice that part of me that's saying that. I breathe and I just say, thank you very much for trying to keep me safe, but no, thank you. I've got this. And then you go back to the other thought. Easier said than done. Sometimes as soon as I say, I am worth it, I immediately go back to that thought. Who do you think you are? And I've even had to, I remember I was driving in a car one time. I was having this panic attack. I was about to jump on Match on the dating site, which, oh my gosh, how scary. And I noticed the thought, and you have to do a pattern interrupt, because the old pattern is to be okay. And yes, okay, you're right. I'm not going to do that. So you do a pattern. I remember I was in the car driving home from work. I stopped my left foot in the car. I'm by myself. I'm driving. And I said, stop it. And basically I would tell this little voice in my, like, shut up. She's nasty. That little voice is nasty. She is not nice. Shut up. Back off. Thank you, but no. And then I would go back to the other thought, but if I didn't have my coach, if I didn't have the people that were attracted to me and that God sent to me to support me, I wouldn't have known to do that.
Right.
And even when you're doing that, so yeah, maybe I'm stomping my foot and screaming. Sometimes that's not enough. You're going to need the continued support around you. Just the people that will, and it does, yes, a coach is amazing because they have the structure, they have the training to help you. But even you have, your family and your friends who are there supporting you. Those are your partners in believing. They'll just bring you up just to really, really dial that in. So I know that's a really long answer to your, what I would tell
really
one lady.
Good, because that's where the gems are hidden, right? In those candid conversations that you just pull out from within. And that was fire. So there was a lot of goodness in there.
Good.
And I also want to just touch on something you said about the pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
From an energetic standpoint, that is like a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you can break that pattern, even for a second, even if you go right back to it, but you interrupt it for a moment, that smooth sailing of it, you make like a micro decision. And even if you have to go back, it's another micro decision that made your first one stronger. It's like a commitment to recommit to that decision, which is another decision.
Yes.
And it's really a building of this magnificent ability and personal power that we all have that we don't realize that we have.
Exactly.
And we all do. And I'm loving this conversation so
Me too.
much. So you have some tips from your own personal growth toolbox that you share with others. Do you want to share some of those here or tell us where we can go to find them?
Sure. You can go to my website at www.sharonvidano.com. And I know that you'll put that in description, so I'll send that link to you. The tips are really, really, one is noticing your thoughts. It's if you can notice your thoughts, because we have the ability to notice where we're sitting, where you're sitting at your desk. You have the ability to notice your body. When you can notice your thoughts, and then you can say, no, that is not serving me, and you can just really pause and then breathe. Breathing will bring you back to that connection with spirit, and then you can lean back into that seed of a thought that, no, I would love that. I would love that relationship. I would love something more. And then once you pause, and then you can actually, then a lot of times I would do an affirmation. One of the biggest affirmations that I always said was, everything is always working out for me. Or in other words, God has, sometimes I would say, everyone says God works in mysterious ways, but if you really unpack that, what it means is everything is always working out for me, no matter what. If this date with this guy fell through, I remember it being in tears. And one of my friends said, Sharon, God just excused him to make room for the next guy to come in.
Oh, I love that.
And I was like, wow, you're right. And towards the end of my dating journey, and it, don't get me wrong, it took some time. The Sharon from dating day one to the Sharon dating 700 was completely different. Dating one was like, like, oh my gosh, I think this guy, he might work. And then I would, kind of keep talking to this guy for like 3 months. Dating Sharon number 700, like, oh no, girl, say goodbye, dismiss. Thank you. Thank you. I wish you the best life. And I wish you, what was my favorite line? Thank you very much. I had an amazing time. I just don't feel that there is any chemistry between us. And I wish you the best. I got really good at saying that. Sharon dating number 700 got really good at saying that. And it was easy. And I meant it. And because I knew I was worth it. Sharon dating number one would never have said that because I didn't want to hurt his feelings.
Right.
But in the end, I knew at the end of my journey, letting someone go who was not for me is really very loving. It's loving for that person and it's loving for myself. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I've loved this conversation so much.
Yeah, so
fun. What is one last piece of advice that you would give to the woman who might be wondering, what does fulfillment look like? Because I don't know that I've ever had it. And I remember being in that space. I'm like, how can I imagine fulfillment when I don't even freaking know what that looks like?
Right. You may not know what it looks like, but you have a sense within yourself what you would love, how you would love to be treated, how you would love to feel. That's more of it. How would you love to feel? You would love to feel that someone is there for you. Someone loves you unconditionally. Someone supports you. Even if the person doesn't agree with you, he at the very least supports you, and is an equal partner with you. You want someone who's going to love you and want you and desire you. Does just the way you are. I remember, sometimes, oh, well, I'll get on the dating site when I lose 10 pounds. No, exactly how you are. I've got curves. I've learned when I was dating, I owned my curves and I loved it. So it doesn't matter what size you are, because the man that God has already picked out for you, because you have that desire in your heart, he exists already, and he loves you just the way you are. Doesn't matter if your hair is gray or, whatever your normal color is, or if you are, super tiny or super light, whatever it is, your man will love you just the way you are.
Absolutely. Sharon, thank you so much for tuning in with us today. If you listeners found some gems in this conversation, please feel free to either put a comment in the comment section of this video, wherever you may find that, or if you're listening on Spotify or any of the podcast platforms, go to Sharon's link, which is SharonNVidano.com, right?
Yes.
And she's got some free tips for you, free tools over there for you. And just tune into her. You can hear her speak. She's at different events. Just tune into her magic, because she will align you with that fulfillment that you might feel that you're missing. And I know she has fulfilled a friend spot in my circle, because I just love being around her and I love talking to her. And I know that once you tune into her for even just a few minutes, you will love her too. So thank you, Sharon, for joining us in the Mind Grow studio today. I'm your host, Stephanie Cathan. You've been listening to the Mind Grow Radio Storyteller Series. And until we meet again,
thank you for having me.
Your brilliance. Yes. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.